Welcome to Mike's Motorworks, and today we're covering the strip. That's right, we are stripping some paint, getting ready for sealer on our Project Fast Fish. So with that in mind, okay, there's a couple ways that you can strip, okay, your paint, all right? You can strip paint either with friction or abrasives, or you could use chemicals, or you could use a combination. Now, I never recommend using abrasives and spinning things with chemicals, but we'll cover more on that in a few minutes. But recently, I had a chance to look online, and I saw the barrel stripper that they had available from Eastwood, and I found a comparable equivalent, and that is the Bauer Surface Conditioning Tool. It's this guy right here. You can get this guy from Harbor Freight if you don't mind purchasing from Harbor Freight, but if you want to buy from Eastwood, the same thing is available from Eastwood. Now, it is a cool tool for basic body stripping, in other words, the exterior, but there are some limitations to it, and I'm going to show you that here in a few minutes, and then we got some work that we're going to do on Project Fast Fish. But back to the Bauer unit, all right? This is essentially what you get when you get the product, okay? I would do a traditional unboxing, but I've already unboxed it and used it, kind of tested it out and what have you. So I'm just going to show you what came in the box itself, all right? So what came in the box, all right. With the box, you got your instructions. That's very important, all righty? You have a bag of hardware. If you don't have an Allen key set, they gave you two different Allen keys, okay? One size Allen key helps you put the handle on, and the other size Allen key helps you put the drum on. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Of course, you get 3 different drums, okay? You get one drum. This is what they call the interleaved finishing drum. You also get a finishing drum. This one's 120 grit. This one's 240 grit. So obviously you use that guy, then this guy if you're following up on the process, do the stripping or some conditioning. And of course you got your surface conditioning tool right here. I used to call these the hamburger pad or the hamburger tool. Basically it's a paint stripper surface tool, right? Now the cool thing is that this particular tool is, you know, pretty heavy, all right? It's got some weight to it, which is really awesome. So as you're working on the top of something, you know, you got a little bit of that weight and such to kind of help with the process. But when you start working up and down, just be mindful of it, all right? But you do have 2 handles that allows you to really, really work with it easy, okay? Now over here, this is not belt driven, but it is gear driven, which is really, really cool. And that's something that's standard on both the Eastwood model and this particular model. So they're pretty much the same thing. And of course, this guy gives you the added variable speed here. This is a continually variable resistor, or a pot, if you will, a potentiometer. And basically, you could turn it up anywhere from 0 on up to 6 as far as the speed is concerned. Obviously, you'll know your project, know the surface of your metal and the condition of your metal, and adjust the speeds accordingly based off the tool that you are using. Now, when you put this thing together, there are 2 different keys, okay? So what happens is you get this, and the drum is obviously not in here. The bolt that it goes into is reverse threaded, so keep that in mind. In other words, right tight, left loose is not going to work. It's going to be left tight, right loose, okay? And so basically what you'll do to get this assembled for the first time, there's a little switch over here, all right, on this back side by the gear, okay? And that basically locks the gears and locks this part from moving, okay? So you'll spin it, lock the gear, and then you'll twist it to the right to undo the initial bolt. There's 2 different keys that come in the pack, okay? You put your 2 keys in, you put your barrel over it, and then tighten it up. Again, left tight, right loose. It's reverse threaded, okay? And then you are good to go. Make sure it's nice and tight. Give it a couple spins, and you are awesome, okay? So there you go. I'm going to show you how it looks here in just a second. So these quarter panels are going to be replaced, but I wanted to use this opportunity to show that surface conditioning tool in action, all right? So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that surface tool, I'm going to work this basic area here in the center of the screen. So I'm going to work this basic area right here, okay? Let you guys see how it works. Now note the condition of this metal. it is bad. It is crusty, okay? And it definitely needs to be replaced. There will be no salvaging of this because it's pretty pitted, okay? But I'm gonna take the surface pad and let you guys see how it works. I'm gonna use it at a lower speed, okay? And then you can see the finished product, all right? So I'm gonna do this for you in time lapse, so that way we're not sitting through 5 minutes of just nothing. Alrighty, you can clearly see there is a difference between where I started at and where things ended at. Did I get down to the raw metal? No, it was only a few minutes working that thing pretty quickly back and forth, side to side, all right? But you can see here where there was a little bit of blue paint and it just went right through it, okay? A little bit of blue paint that was left over from the original color. And of course, in some of the spots, it did get down to the metal. But as you can see here, the overall surface of the car, there's just no salvaging these skins, right? But there is clearly a difference between this guy and this guy, and that didn't even take 5 minutes, alrighty? So boom, there you go. So that's the way it works. Now again, that surface conditioning tool is not gonna be the best for working in complex surfaces. Yeah, it'll work up here, but when you're dealing with the apron of the vehicle, it's not gonna work. Let me show you. Alrighty, to prove my point with the surface conditioning tool, when you get into complex areas, it's not going to work very well. Why? Because it's big. It's, it's got a big 4-inch, 4.5-inch barrel on there, right? So this part, it'll be fine to work with. And you can make the argument that you can work up here, but I don't really want to use the rubber underlayment with the surface prep tool because it'll just burn through my surface tool, my barrel really fast. But I wanted to show how it'll easily work through the flat surface here, but when you start dealing with these complex areas, it's not as easy, it's bulky, so there are better ways to do it. But real quick, I'm gonna show you this in real time and let you hear this thing work, all right? And let you see how it goes, all right? It does take a moment to spin up, so you'll see me pull the trigger, kind of hold it for a second, then attack the surface. All right, so as you can see there, you got a nice clean surface. It's gonna be a little warm. There's some friction there. Remember, friction creates heat. So you got a little bit of paint left in here. That's a little divot, take care of that with a wire brush and boom, there you go, right? But again, I wouldn't try to work this with that. It ain't gonna work, all right? It's not gonna do what you need to do. So we need to take care of this a different way. Let me show you what we're gonna use. So as you saw, the surface conditioning tool is good for flatter surfaces, or have surfaces that are a little bit more rounded but not completely rounded, square, or have tight angles, all right? If you're needing to strip something with tight angles on there and you're not wanting to do the sandblasting route, you don't want to go that route because it's too messy or what have you. There is an alternative, all right? And you're going to use abrasives for that, okay? And so what I'm going to recommend is a couple different things. Yes, you can strip your body on your vehicle and strip the paint with chemicals. If you do decide to strip your vehicle chemically, all right, understand that there's going to be a lot of cleanup afterwards to take care of any kind of mess, because the paint's going to be coming off in sheets and flakes, okay? And they're going to be wet and soggy. So you're definitely going to need to also wear the proper PPE, because you're dealing with chemicals, and this is a paint stripper, and it's a pretty potent paint stripper. So here's your warning: be really, really careful with this stuff, all right? Because it gets on your skin and it will downright burn, because it's a chemical reaction. It is a chemical burn that will occur, okay? So even if it's been sitting on the paint for just a second and you go to wipe it off or what have you, just make sure that you're using the proper PPE. That includes gloves, that includes the eyewear, longer sleeves, even on a hot day like we're having today, okay, and eye protection, okay? You don't want to get this stuff in your eyeballs, it'll hurt. But basically what I do is I go ahead and spray the area down and let it sit till it basically dries out, and that really softens that paint up. And this goes for enamel, this goes for primer, so on and so forth, okay? If you just prime something real quick just to kind of give it a rough seal, this will work, okay? Now, after it's been sitting for a while and it dries up, then you can take on a more abrasive approach with it. And that is, of course, using a wire brush like this. I don't recommend going with the grinding brush, all right, nothing like that. But basically a wire bristle brush makes quick work of that soft paint. And this 1-inch brush with a die grinder allows you to really get into those crevices really well. Then after you take care of all the crevices or the areas that you can't get into, go ahead and take care of that with a larger wire cut brush like I have on my grinder here. All right, this basically makes quick work of it and gives you a nice shiny surface afterwards. So let me show you what that looks like. So this is what we're going to be working on today. Now, to give you a little bit of background here, a while ago I had the whole car stripped out, right? I turned it into a basic shell, and then as it was sitting and what have you, it was beginning to rust out, and I didn't want to worry about this section because it was such in great shape. So what I did was, and this is a while ago and I was still learning, we found some basic 2K primer, and I stripped it down and didn't get all the rubber and such off because I was just like, let me just preserve it, right? I can go back through and restrip it later when I'm ready to finish up the vehicle. So we primed it with 2K primer and kind of left it at that. And as you can see, I didn't get a really, really good seal. Now somebody can make the argument, well, yeah, you're supposed to use sealer or you didn't prepare it well enough. And that's fine. There are definitely rooms and elements and arguments for that, because as you can see, there's a lot of rust that's kind of popping through, right? But, okay, with that in mind, all right, we're going to do this the right way this time around, okay? So what you're going to see me do first is I'm going to go ahead and remove all the extra rubberized undercoat underneath here. And to do that, I'm actually going to use a little bit of propane and, of course, the propane torch and nozzle and a scraper. There are plenty of videos on how to do this online, but I found that the propane method is really easy. So when I put this thing in time-lapse mode, as you see me working on this, you're going to see me do the torch thing very, very first. All right, some friendly reminders. You're dealing with open flame. That stuff is going to get hot, all right? You want to make sure that you're using the right amount of stuff and use caution. And by the way, yes, if you are heating this thing up, it will get hot. So if you have a full tank or it goes all the way to the back here, that part gets hot and the rest of the plastic remains cooler. Just be aware of that. Burnt my hand the other day, all right? But yeah, you definitely want to wear something for that, okay? And make sure that you're in an open air environment, right? So after that's taken care of, you will see me then go through and I'm going to go take that chemical and I'm going to spray it, all right? And I'm just going to spray everything. And I'll probably do that twice to ensure that I got a good coating. I'm going to let it sit and dry, and then you'll see me come and take care of the other areas and panels as I just talked about earlier. All righty, so this is the area we're going to take care of. So as far as the rest of the car is concerned, I'm basically gonna do that for this whole section here where the engine compartment goes, all right? So I'm gonna cover that later on, but basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do that same process I'm gonna do on the outer apron to this inner apron and engine compartment area. Note that, however, I am not gonna do the cowl because this cowl is gonna be replaced, all right? It is rotted through. I got some bad spots I gotta take care of. I gotta pull the cowl off and I gotta do a little bit of patching for the firewall to make sure that we are set there. So I'm gonna do this in this whole area here. That way, this part is done. After I get it sealed, I don't have to worry about it. It might get dusty because of all the stuff that's going on in the garage, but basically everything from the firewall forward will be done other than the cowl. That way I can focus on the rest of the vehicle. So the idea here is to strip to seal, okay?